Good afternoon, my friends. It is a grand pleasure for me to be with you once again at your gathering and to watch you work on improving your skills in sending and receiving and developing the skill of telepathy. For it is the foundation of all mediumship and all the future of your planet. For in the world of you are going into the age of knowledge, you will discover that once you are in that age for a while, that people will have advanced enough so that they can communicate with each other no matter where they are on the planet, because we will return to a point where language has become obsolete, and you will be communicating through telepathy, through thought, through images, not words. A house looks the same no matter what country you live in or what you call it. So when you visualize a house, and another person who does not speak the English language will know that is a house because it looks like a house, if you can understand what I'm saying. So you are going to go, the world is going to go into a state where telepathy is once again employed, as it originally was when humankind first started walking the planet. And you will go into a point where you can also communicate with all forms of consciousness, whether it is a tree, whether it is an animal, whether it is a stone, whether it is the sun. You will be able to communicate with it and have a dialogue, not just a one-way conversation, but you will be able to have a dialogue with all forms of energy. So you are in the kindergarten state of, well, perhaps you are in the preschool state of telepathy. And there's nothing wrong. You have to start someplace. You have to take baby steps. When you first were a little child and were crawling around on the floor, your first step was very tentative, and you took maybe one or two steps before you ended up on the floor once again. You did not go out for a mile run immediately. You had to build up those skills until you could do that. And this is no different. This telepathy is the same thing. You are in the baby steps of it now, but as you continue to practice, and we urge you to practice with friends, with people of like minds, to develop this, because it's very much like learning the piano. If you sit as a young child down on the piano, yes, they can take their fist and they can bang on it, but they will not play a song. They can make sounds out of it. But as they take lessons and begin to learn how to use the fingers properly to produce melodies, they will not end up in Carnegie Hall in a week. It takes years and years of practice in order to become a virtuoso. And it is the same thing with telepathy. You cannot expect to do it perfectly first, but every small hit should build up your confidence, every little piece, whether the color is right, whether the shape is right. This is all part of the learning process and the confidence process of letting yourself go and not being concerned whether the answer is right or wrong. Going into your intuitive state of your brain and allowing whatever impression that strikes it first to be the one that you go with, not to analyze it with the logical part of your brain, just to go with what your gut feeling of what you get and write it down and not to question it, and to continually do that. And as you do, you will discover that more and more of what you are writing down is correct. But it's a process. And so do not be frustrated with it. We have enjoyed your conversation about how to go about and improve your sessions here when you come together. And we are excited that you are exploring other ways to develop this, because we do not present you with the one way to do it. There are many different ways of achieving this process. But the point is to give it some work, to give it the time, the practice, the dedication of time. And when we're talking about time, we're not saying you have to take an hour to do this. You can do this quite quickly with a friend who can sit down with a pad and crayons and just draw a simple box or very simple tree or whatever image they draw, and it takes a minute that they project that to you and you write it down. So it doesn't have to be a very long, drawn out process. It can go rather quickly, and you could do 10 or 20 of these images rather quickly. And within 15 minutes or so, you would have a good practice session. And maybe two or three times a week, if you dedicated yourself to that, you would be surprised how you would increase your accuracy. So we are excited that you are excited about working on this, and because in the days to come, these telepathy skill, as we have said, will become very important. So with that being said, we now wish to turn the stage over to the questions.
Thank you, Carl and friends. We really appreciate your being here, and thank you for the guidance on the telepathy. The first question, actually, we have two questions on the same subject, so I'm going to ask them both now. From Susan Yu, there is a suspected Chinese spy air balloon flying over the United States. Is it really what the media says it is, or is this a setup of some kind being done by the dark side to provoke a confrontation with China? What is this balloon all about? And then from Carol B, what is the intention behind China in releasing the air balloon that was discovered in our airspace? Thank you.
You are correct in assuming that this balloon that has been floating over your country was put there in order to create an atmosphere of fear, an atmosphere of uneasiness, an atmosphere of uncertainty. This has all been planned out by what you are calling the dark side, in order to maintain their control over the masses of people, especially in the Western world, in your continent and in Europe, because they understand that they had gained quite a bit of control through the disease that you had. Everybody was listening to what they wanted. Most people were getting the shots. Many people were wearing the mask. Many people were afraid to be in large groups. They were successful in that control. And so they are using this technique to create another aspect of fear so that they can extend their control into other aspects. If you had the ability to go onto those balloons, as they are called, you would find out that there are some cameras in there. It is not very sophisticated. It is not very they're there more as a decoy. They're there more to create the fear and uncertainty than to actually collect data. It is quite interesting that your media went from a weather balloon into a spy satellite rather quickly. And again, that it was intentional in order to ramp up the fear. What we would say to you is that to be vigilant with your government as far as them trying to create more negative conditions, especially war conditions on the planet. It is a tactic that they use the balloons, and it is not one, if people are very vocal about it, well, it's not one that is going to achieve their goal, not as successfully as they did with the disease. Do you understand?
Thank you. The next question is from Sandy. I have heard recently that some people are being, quote, seeded and later birthing an entity. Could you explain if and why this is happening and who, what the entities are that are being birthed? Thank you.
Yeah. The question that you are asking is a rather complex one, because the words that you use have specific connotations, and yet in actuality, that is not what's being meant when this is happening at this time. The birthing that you are talking about and the seeding that you are talking about is not so much on a physical level, but on a conscious level, on a consciousness level. The consciousness that is being created and being birthed, as you said, it is being seeded within certain individuals because their consciousness has advanced beyond the average of most humans on the planet. So in other words, they are far beyond, they are more advanced, and therefore they are the ones that are, quote, being seeded in order to create a new consciousness and new energy to be released into the planet, released energetically. We are not talking about physical people being born or physical entities being born, or in the past, those of you who read what is in the Bible have read about when a hybrid breed of God and human was created, and so forth. And they were given a certain name and certain functions and this and that. We are not talking about that. We are talking about a person who is being seeded, where a certain thoughts, certain energy, certain frequencies are going to be developed. Think of it this way. Think of it this way. Many of you are familiar with going into your kitchen and taking out the flour and the sugar and the eggs and baking a cake. You add in all the ingredients, you stir it up, and then you put it in the oven and it comes out as a cake. In a sense, that is what's happening, but it's all happening energetically. They are starting with people whose consciousness are advanced enough to go into be able to be the mixing bowl, and the entities from the world of spirit and the entities from other planets are putting in the other ingredients into this mixing bowl, and then they are allowing this to gel or bake, if you want to use that analogy. And eventually what the end result will not be cut and put on a plate like you're used to, but will be released mentally from that person into the physical world. And it will help to change the frequency of the planet. It will help to elevate the planet. It will bring new concepts to people's minds. think about the people that you've known in the past. Think about the person you know as Thomas Edison, who had all these inventions, all these ideas that popped into his mind, things that he probably never even thought of himself initially, but all of a sudden he was creating a light bulb, he was creating phonograph records, all these things that had never been done before were all of a sudden done. In a sense, this is what's being done now. The ingredients are being put into the consciousness of the person. It will be released into the physical world, and once that energy is out there, certain people will pick up on this and all of a sudden have this really wild idea that they never thought of before, and it will change. It will change what people would have thought of. It's very similar to how Edison had his ideas. This is what is happening now in what you were talking about as seeding and birthing. Do you understand?
Very interesting. Thank you. Next question is from Carol Berna. Matthias de Stefano has told of his remembering all his past lives and that have spanned thousands of years throughout many galaxies. He says that his purpose is to gather people to clear and reactivate the energy in spaces around the Earth by depositing copper keys around the planet to reactivate the energy of that space. Because our world is so distorted now, with many claiming to have answers, is it so hard to discern what is legitimate? Can you please share what you can on this person? Thank you.
We would say to you that this person understands where humanity is going to. It will eventually, in the age of knowledge, have that knowledge you were talking about of knowing all their past lives. They will have, humanity will awaken from its spiritual amnesia of forgetting that they are gods, that forgetting about all the information that they had. As you probably know, when you are in the spirit world, when your soul resides there and your spirit lives in the spirit world, you can have access to your past life experiences. You can analyze your different lives, and then you can choose on what you want to come back to learn in this life. But when you enter the physical body to inhabit it, you cannot bring all that information with you. Now, it's true that some people can bring a small fragment, but not all of it. What this individual has done is he understands what the end goal. He understands where humanity will end up eventually. And he thinks that he is able to do that now. But in reality, he is just deluding himself. He has created in his mind these scenarios of different times. Yet his soul feels it's correct because his soul understands the truth behind it. But he does not have the capability to remember all of that at this time. It is important for all of you to understand that there are many people who can be spokespeople for the world of spirit. There are all sorts of people who claim access to certain knowledge through certain techniques, whether it's through a trance state or another state. And it is important, just as Jesus taught so long ago, for you to test the spirit, for you to see if what is being said resonates within your own soul. Does this feel possible to you? Does this feel logical to you? You all possess a soul. You all possess a knowingness. And all of you who are here and hearing this voice at this point of time have been on a spiritual journey. So you are qualified to take what you are being presented and weighing it against your inner knowingness to feel whether this is correct or not. And we urge you to do that. You cannot trust every channel. You cannot trust every medium. You cannot trust everyone, because it depends on the person themselves. What is their intent in doing this and serving as this channel? Are they looking for self-glorification, or are they doing it to service humanity? Or do they work on being what we call a clear channel, so that their mind does not influence what is being said? Or do they not bother with that and just say whatever pops into their mind? You, as the receiver of the information, have to make that determination of how much you can believe that person. There are certain mediums who claim that it is important that if you hear a certain piece of information, that you ask the spirit world to have it verified through a different medium. In other words, to get the same piece of information through another medium, because that would help to verify that this is coming from the world of spirit and not coming from someone who is thinking they are connected with the world of spirit and may not be. So we ask you to be vigilant on this topic, to be careful of who you truly believe. And that, again, is not to say you shouldn't listen to them, you should not hear them. We're not saying that, but we're saying that you need to weigh out what you will accept and what you will not accept as far as what is being said. Do you understand?
Thank you. The next question is from Rita. How do you see the education of the children in the future? This will respect to give them the possibility to grow up as spiritual persons. Thank you. And that was this with respect to give them the possibility to grow up as spiritual persons.
My friend, when humanity finally crosses the threshold into the age of knowledge, so much will have changed and so much will be changed. It will be a time of great exploration because, as you just stated, people are going to understand that education is much more than just having a body of facts. It's going to also entail being spiritual and how to live a spiritual life and how to instill that into young children and to young humans. If you look about your planet at this time, spirituality is not being instilled in many young people. And this is why there is such turmoil in your world. This is why the young people, the children, are creating crimes. They are killing people with guns. They don't think if that's even wrong because they are not being taught any spiritual value. Part of that is due to the fact that your world has defined spirituality through religion. And people have become disillusioned with the religions because they realize that they are all man-made and they aren't carrying the spiritual truths. So in effect, this is a natural outgrowth of the decline of religions and nothing to replace it as of yet. There will be a time when spirituality will be key. There will be a time when certain people will be inspired on how to instill spirituality and wholeness and oneness and understanding that we are God within small children, within young children. There will be a time as that proceeds that the world will be in a much more peaceful and much more cohesive, less turbulent times when this all comes to be. So know that this is the end result. Know that the world of spirit is watching all of this. Know that will be more and more people that will have their sensitivities grow and become more mediumistic and therefore more open to the world of spirit and the thoughts of spirit, just as you're developing the skills now, so that when the time comes for the great changes to be put into place, people will be inspired as to what to do and to how to achieve it. Going back to the man we talked about before, Mr. Edison, he was inspired to come up with these inventions. People will be inspired on how to teach children, how to teach adults, how to live in a spiritual world. When the time is right, the doors will open and the information will be there, and it will be very well accepted at that time. Do you understand?
Thank you. I hope that time is coming soon. And that is our last question. So thank you so much.
It's been our pleasure to be able to, again, be of assistance in providing answers in your ever-changing times. There are always questions that are popping up, and we are happy to provide you with some guidance to help you with your journey in this time of change. So again, we ask you to step forward bravely, be confident in your knowingness, be confident in what you are doing and what you are learning. Put all these spiritual principles into practice and be a shining example to those around you of how to live a spiritual life and pursue a spiritual journey. With that, we leave you with our blessings and with our peace. So be it.
Thank you.